Today we're going to be looking at one of the more stranger sets that the company Banpresto made. Because, well, this plush disc is kind of like an extension of two other plushes they already made in the past before this one. But just with like different material on it, so overall it's pretty strange, but with that said, welcome to a look at the Banpresto Taffeta Mario plush set. Now, before we get to the individual plushes themselves, let's look at a bit of history about this plush and why it's called the Taffeta Banpresto Mario plush set. Now, the reason why they're called the Taffeta Mario plushes is because, well, that's the material they're made out of. They're just made out of, like, taffeta material, which is just kind of like a shiny, like, material. It's kind of a weird-looking material overall. You could just look it up if you want to. And it seems that this is one of the only Mario plushes to actually use this material, which makes it kind of unique. This plush is based out of the game Super Mario World, which Banpresto had already made multiple sets for in the past, so I wonder why they made this one, because, well, they use the exact same characters that they used in the past, but just made out of, like, slightly different material. In a few plushes in this set, they kind of use, like, the exact same patterns, and they only really added one unique character to this set. But yeah, overall, a pretty strange set, but let's start off with the first plush in this set, which is the Mario. Mario's face overall looks pretty good, and his mustache is made out of felt, same thing with his eyebrows. The mustache could fall off though, because it's just glued on because, well, it's just a piece of felt glued on, while like the eyebrows and the mouth are ironed on so they can't fall off as easily. The eyes are also made out of plastic, so they could get discolored and also like chipped and damaged because, well, it's just made out of plastic. And speaking of getting discolored, this material is prone to getting like discolored over the years. As you can see by this Mario plush, you could easily tell that these plushes will get damaged really easily. Because for some reason this taffeta material like gets destroyed a lot quicker than normal plush material, so that's one bad thing about these plushes because, well, they don't really hold up well over the years because of the material it's made out of. And that's probably the worst part about all these plushes is because, well, the material on it is really bad at holding up and it could get damaged really easily. But yeah, besides that, the Mario plush is okay. The proportions aren't really that good because, well, for some reason his body's just really small and wide. I don't know why Banpresto made him like this because, well, it's not accurate at all. The emblem on his head is also just like a felt piece, so yeah, it could get damaged and collect debris. Overall, this Mario plush has a lot of problems on it, and overall, I think Banpresto did a really bad job making this plush because, well, the materials they use is basically all easily damageable, and also the proportions are just wrong. So overall, in terms of accuracy, Mario is just really not that good of a plush, but overall it still looks pretty nice, especially if you like the style it's going for. Because, well, not all plushes go for accuracy, but in terms of accuracy, Mario just did a really bad job on him. The buttons are also made out of plastic on the overalls and could get chipped and damaged. But if you do want this plush, because overall it is still a pretty nice plush, even though it's inaccurate and, well, it could get damaged easily, because, well, if you do get this plush, take good care of it because, well, it could get damaged easily. But if you want this plush, look on eBay or Yahoo Japan auctions. Now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which basically has all the same problems as Mario, being Luigi. Now, Luigi's body is basically an exact copy of Mario's, except instead of the clothes being red, they're green. His hat's also an exact copy, except with an L emblem, and it's also green. The face on Luigi is also unique, using different eyes and also a different mustache, because, well, that makes it more accurate. But besides that, they just made the plush green and basically took all the same patterns from Mario, which leads this plush to having the exact same problems as Mario due to the materials being bad and also the inaccuracy, because Luigi is technically supposed to be taller than Mario, so yeah, it's the same size, and also his proportions are really off overall. And one thing that's probably the worst about all these plushes is that they just don't have legs for some reason. They only have shoes, and that's it. Because, like, overall, the proportions are not really that good overall for the rest of the plush, but you could have just at least added some legs. Because, well, overall, he just looks really weird without legs, and overall just looks inaccurate even more than it already is. But if you do get this plush, keep it out of sunlight because, well, it could get easily discolored. And if you want this plush, look on eBay, Mercari, Yahoo Japan. They should be able to be pretty easily found there. Now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which is by far the most simplest, being Yoshi. Now, this is probably the most simplest plush in this whole set for Banpresto to make because they took the exact same pattern from the Super Mario World Yoshi and just turned it into this different material. Now, this Yoshi plush is the exact same as like the normal Banpresto Yoshi plush, but just with a different material. Which is really weird because usually when you see companies steal plushes, it's usually not from themselves, but Banpresto just stole their own design. Overall, that's a really weird choice for Banpresto to make, and it's just overall kind of weird to do. One thing that they did change that makes this plush look a little better is that the nose are actually made out of these like shiny looking bees, but they could also fall off because they're only like glued or stitched on. And overall, I think the Yoshi plush would have looked better if it used a lighter green color, and also it used its own unique design instead of using like the exact same design. Because, well, they usually didn't even change anything about this plush, except that they changed the saddle on the original to a shell. That's about it. But yeah, overall, really weird for Banpresto to basically take their own plush. Look on eBay or Yahoo Japan for this plush, and yeah, it should be pretty easy, and it's probably the most common in the whole set. Now let's move on to the only unique plush made by Banpresto in the set that I haven't made before, being Kamek. And this is the only Kamek plush Banpresto ever made. It was the second ever Kamek plush. And since this plush, there was basically no Kamek plushes until the early 2010s. So it took almost another 20 years after this plush was made to get a new Kamek plush, which is a really long time to not get any Kamek plushes. And overall, I would say that Banpresto did an okay job, I guess. Overall, the clothes look really weird, and also for some reason his wand's the wrong color. Like the clothes and like the face and everything, they could be considered accurate, but the wand's just completely wrong on this plush. But besides the wand being completely wrong, overall the face is pretty good on this plush and has all the necessary details on it, except that they could get damaged easily because the details aren't really used out of the best material. But his clothes overall are pretty good, I guess. They're quite accurate and overall look pretty nice. I think it would be more accurate though if they made it a lighter color instead of like a dark blue color. But besides that, overall, this plush is pretty good, and it's probably the most well done in the whole set because, well, Banpresto actually had to make a unique design for this plush. Because instead of using just like a design from an old plush that they actually had to make a new unique design, which overall I think they did a pretty good job on. This plush is also by far the most rare in the whole set and sells for the most money on eBay and Yahoo Japan auctions, but yeah, you could get this plush, but it will cost you a pretty good amount of money. Now also on to the next plush in the set, which was also used in an old Banpresto set, being the Rip Van Fish. And this is one of 3 Rip Van Fish plushes to ever be made, and Banpresto actually made 2 out of the 3 of them. The only other Rip Van Fish plush was made by Vic Tokai. And this one's basically an exact copy from the old Banpresto one because, well, it's just made out of a different material. So yeah, just like Yoshi, they basically just stole this plush from the other one. But yeah, instead of like using a different design from the Yoshi plush with like the saddle and the shell, they didn't actually change anything about this plush. They just made it slightly bigger and out of a different material. Because if you compare the other plushes, the only real change about them is that the eyes aren't made out of plastic on like this Taffeta one because, well, they're really not supposed to be because, well, they're made out of like a Taffeta material. So yeah, that's really the only change about this plush besides the materials on it. Basically, just like Yoshi, it's another just exact copy from the old Banpresto version. But even though these plushes are basically copies from their old versions, except for Kamek, they are still pretty good because, well, they're basically the only Mario plushes to be made out of this material, and overall, even if they are just copies of old plushes, they still overall look pretty good. And they're actually, the Rip Van Fish plush, you could actually easily find it in Japan, and you could also find it on eBay sometimes. On the website Mandarake, there's like 30 of them in stock with one seller, so yeah, if you live in Japan, this plush should be pretty easy to get because, well, they have tons of them. But yeah, which plush in this is your favorite? Mine's probably the Kamek, but yeah, comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day.